Let's talk about Stipe. Let's talk about Jon Jones. Let's talk about Francis Ngannou. There's Jon Jones right after the fight, tweeting up a storm, saying how he likes what he sees. He can fight Stipe. Two things on this, in my opinion. Number one, I believe part of that was kicking Daniel while he was down. I think he was saying, "I could do what you could do better." Right? I'm a better heavyweight than you. I could beat the guy that can't beat you, or that you can't beat. Excuse me. I think there's part of it, and I also think part of it is him trying to like drum up some attention for the move up to heavyweight, which he's been talking about for 2 years.
2 years.
I feel, or if not more.
I feel like 9 years or something.
Do you want to see, and do you think the UFC should try to book Stipe versus Jon Jones? What do you make of this?
Okay. So I said I would have been more excited for Jon to do it earlier. And I always felt like there was this almost inevitability to it. When did Jon win the title? 2011, I feel like, somewhere around there.
When did he win the title initially?
For the first time.
Yeah, 2011, March.
2011. Okay. So I always felt like there was this inevitability. He was so young that he was going to grow into a heavyweight for sure. His brothers are gigantic, right? I always thought there was that. And then at that point, there was a huge amount of interest in it. And for a long time, there wasn't. He just never pulled the trigger. I never got it because like Stipe weighed in at 233. And it's not like he was cutting weight to get to 233. He just got on the scale. That was what he weighed, right? Jon's going to weigh 220, 225. I mean, they're going to be very similar sized. Stipe is not much bigger than Jon. So yeah, I think he can move up. But at this point, and this I mentioned this to you, I don't know if it was on text or what it was. I feel like the heavyweight division is jammed. And you have obviously Francis is going to be next. Dana's already said that. That's for sure. But then it's like Derek Lewis is on a nice run, really nice run. Rosenstrike is on a really nice run. And, I understand that what you're saying, you can make a couple of these guys fight each other. Oh, Curtis Blaydes is on a really nice run. So you have 4 guys who are on really nice runs. And I understand you can make some of them fight each other, and you're probably going to have to. But one thing I always think about is like, you never want to kill a contender, right? If you got someone who you think can sell some pay-per-views and he's going to be a good contender, you don't want to kill the contenders. So it's like, I feel like those guys, there's a lot of good stories there. Now you're going to have to kill a couple of them, probably, right? So you're going to go Francis versus Stipe next. Then are you really going to make all these guys fight each other just to get Jon Jones a title shot? Or are you going to go, Francis next, then make one of those guys fight, other three guys fight each other, and then give them the next shot, which is then going to keep Stipe really busy, right? Because if Stipe says, I'm not fighting for another 9 months, oh man, that's going to hurt the division, right? You want to run Stipe back out there as soon as you can.
I don't like the idea of leapfrogging Francis. I think it's unfair to the guy. He has done everything asked of him. He had the one fight against Stipe, lost it, obviously. Then he comes back against Derek Lewis, was a shell of himself. But then, ever since then, all he's doing is knocking people out in seconds, literally seconds, right?
Yes.
I think Francis versus Stipe is the fight to make. It's an exciting fight. It's an interesting fight. And oh, by the way, if we're going to include Jon in this, I want to see Jon versus Dominic Reyes too. I feel like that's the fight to make it light heavyweight. I thought Dominic won that fight. I've said it a million times. I think that's a really interesting fight. If Jon could get by Dominic, all right, now we could talk about you fighting the winner of Francis versus Stipe. But the idea of leapfrogging Francis doesn't sit well.
Dang. Errol, I didn't realize how fast. I just went and looked at Francis. He has 4 knockouts in a total of 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
Yeah, it's insane.
What?
Against really good guys.
Yeah,
Jairzinho.
2 former champions, JDS and Kane.
Yeah. No, come on. It's ludicrous. And, credit to Dana. He said Francis is next. But do you think that they're going to even, entertain this?
I think they're going Francis next. I think Francis is they know that Francis is going to be very marketable. They want to put him out there. And Jon has been a pain in the UFC's ass for quite a while. And we know Dana does not like rewarding that. So I see Francis getting the title shot. I think they run Jon out there against someone else at light heavyweight. I think they then match up, one of the two. So you got Rosenstrike, Blaydes, and Lewis. You match those guys up somehow. And then you have Jon winning another UFC light heavyweight title, likely. You have a winner of that fight, and you pick the most marketable one, and you make that the fight after Francis Stipe.
You know what you do with those guys that you just mentioned?
What?
You do Rosenstrike versus Blaydes. Okay. And then you do Derek Lewis versus, if he wins, Alistair Overeem, who's fighting in less than a month.
I'm good. They haven't never fought, correct?
They've never fought. The 2 guys that he has never fought, Derek, that I really want to see him fight, Overeem and Blaydes. Now, Blaydes really wants Derek, but the problem with that is if you do Derek versus Blaydes and Overeem wins, we just saw Rosenstrike versus Overeem. Now, I guess you could run it back again. Nah, we just kind of saw it. We just, it
we
wasn't.
saw that.
Yeah. So that's why I would do Rosenstrike versus Blades and Derek
it.
versus the winner of the Overeem Augusta Sakai fight that's coming up in early September. Boom. Now you got your top contenders. You got Francis I disagree with you. I don't think heavyweight's a mess. I actually think it's really interesting and very clear cut at this point.
Well, but the thing is, you got to get Stipe to agree to come back pretty quickly.
We can't have a year between fights. I mean, last time he had the eye injury, so it was understandable, but
well, how long? I mean, honestly, if I'm Dana, I want Stipe back in 3 months. I want to freaking give him 2 weeks to get healthy. I want to give him 10 weeks to train. And I want to roll him back out against Francis Ngannou. And if
December pay-per-view, because they're booked all the way up until November at this point. So December would be the first option.
Okay. So that's 4 months. I'm good with that. Yeah. Let's do it. Me, you should be matchmakers, Helwani.
Listen, I think that, if it's up to me, I think that we can, really do some big business for the company, but I don't know if we're getting the first call. You think we'll get a call? I don't think we're getting a call.
Yeah, I think you're Dana's favorite guy ever.
Okay. I think if DC was on the other end of that microphone, we might have a better chance. You and me, zero chance. Okay. True or false? Jon Jones fights at heavyweight before he retires. Period.
Man, I'm not sold. No, I'm not. I think, I'm going to say it's a coin flip. Say it's 50-50.
It was a true or false question. It's not a coin flip question. It has to be a true or a false answer.
We'll say, this is a tough one. This is so hard. I'm going to say true.
Really?
I'm not very good. No, I think it's a coin flip. I just told you that. I think they're giving Francis the shot. I think Jon was maybe motivated in the moment to say that. I think you're probably right about kicking Daniel when he's down a little bit. And I think the other thing that Jon tries doing frequently is, and it's a very effective tactic, actually. If you can get the fans around an idea, Dana's way more likely to come around. Right. If you get the fans first, I mean, that honestly, that was what pushed me so hard. I went on JRE podcast and, I had this fan momentum and they kept pushing really hard. And that was probably one of the main reasons it happened. If it's not for that my trade doesn't happen. Right. And Jon knows that. And I've seen Jon try to use that many other times against the UFC as a tactic, and it works.
I don't know if it's going to work this particular time. I think there was a time to make Jon at heavyweight a couple months ago when they were trying to figure things out. But I'll say beat Dominic, and then we could talk about moving up.
Well, the fight is not scheduled, correct?
No. It's not scheduled. And there's also Jan Blachowicz out there who kind of has the same things too.
Yeah, I'm in for the rematch of Jon versus Reyes, but the light heavyweight division is, I don't want these guys all to get mad at me, but I'm not all that excited right now about the UFC light heavyweight division. When we talk about heavyweight, heavyweight's way more exciting to me. And I remember at one point in time, light heavyweight was the most exciting division in the game. And now, maybe it's because they're all foreigners. There's so many foreigners in the division, right? And I just don't know them as well. I don't know what, when you go Blachowicz, I'm going to mess
forget about all that.
Reyes, Uzdemir, Rakic, Krylov, Serkinov, they're all foreigners.
Oh, stop it. What does that have to do with anything? Don't be
I'm
one of
just
those
saying,
guys.
I don't, maybe because I don't know them from wrestling in college, or there's just, for some reason, I don't have as much interest. And I can't tell you exactly.
What, you're one of those guys who only likes American-born fighters?
No.
No.
I'm just trying to explain. Okay, listen, here's what to it. I'm trying to explain to you why I don't have as much interest. I can't tell you exactly why it is. And
it's such a bizarre take from a guy who's wrestled internationally his entire life.
But I love international. So internationally, it's really hard to follow guys. And so my top 20 are probably domestic guys, right? U.S. guys. And then after that, I'll follow some international guys. But
you're just biased. I believe that's called ethnocentric. Is that what the term is?
No, there's another word for it too, where you're scared of foreigners, but that's definitely not the case. Yeah.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.